Hey guys, and welcome to today's idiot video. Now in today's video we're going to be discussing a fairly popular flat earther who also happens to be a sommelier of urine. That's right, allegedly Dave drinks his own pee. So put down that glass of human lemonade, rinse out your mouth with some mouthwash, and let's begin.
The Earth is absolutely flat.
The Earth is absolutely not flat, but you are absolutely an idiot. So this is Dave, or better known as allegedly Dave, supposedly. And Dave became popular with an appearance on a Macedonian TV show called Late Night with Malenko, where he got an opportunity to express his personal beliefs that the Earth was actually flat. Now most of you are probably familiar with this interview, but I'll post a link in the description for those of you who aren't.
My name is Dave. I'm known as allegedly Dave. I'm 56 years old, and I know that the Earth is a flat, motionless plane.
Flat earthers always say stuff like that. I know the Earth is flat. I know the Earth is motionless. However, I'm still waiting for a single flat Earth idiot to step up to the plate and show how they know the Earth is flat, with a single piece of irrefutable evidence to support the flat Earth that can't be debunked by a group of preschoolers playing with Play-Doh.
That is, the model is that there's a disc of water with continents strung out around the North Pole in the center, and it's bordered on the circumference with what we call Antarctica.
Sometimes I wish flat earthers would stop concerning themselves with the shape of the Earth and take one day to learn about some basic geometry. So let's talk about circles and spheres. If the Earth were a circular disk, then the concentric circles around the North Pole would simply get larger and larger and larger all the way out to the South Pole. Now if the Earth were a globe, then the concentric circles around the North Pole would get larger and larger and larger until they reached the equator, where the circle would be at its maximum circumference, and then they would start getting smaller and smaller and smaller on their way down to the South Pole. Now let's introduce the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, which both reside about 23.4 degrees away from the equator in each direction. Now, if the Earth were flat, then the Tropic of Cancer should be way shorter than the Tropic of Capricorn, because the Tropic of Cancer is way closer to the North Pole. However, if the Earth is a globe, then the Tropic of Cancer should be the exact same length as the Tropic of Capricorn. And what do you think we see in reality? Exactly. The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn are the exact same length, meaning the Earth cannot be flat.
Yeah, it's literally the circumference of the Earth. It's again, if you imagine the North Pole in the center, all the continents kind of strung out around the North Pole, and round the edge is what we call Antarctica.
Just one problem there, Dave. The northernmost tip of Antarctica extends all the way to 63 degrees south latitude. Knowing that there's 69 miles between each degree of latitude, we can then calculate the distance between the North Pole and the northernmost tip of Antarctica. We do this by adding 90 to 63 and then multiplying that number by 69. That gives us a value of 6,273 miles as its radius. Now that we have the radius, we just multiplied that by 2 to get the diameter, and multiplied that by pi to get the circumference. And that gives us a value of 39,414 miles, which is almost 4 times greater than the scientifically accepted and measured value of 11,165 miles of Antarctic coastline. This single fact alone destroys the flat Earth narrative. Now, you might be asking yourself, why do flat earthers even exist, knowing these facts? Well, quite simply, flat earthers are undereducated and mathematically illiterate idiots.
There's this thing called the Antarctic Treaty, which is a treaty by all the United Nations countries that have agreed that nobody is allowed to go there.
If the Antarctic Treaty was designed to keep people away from Antarctica, then who the hell is taking all the pictures of people and penguins on Antarctica? The Antarctic Treaty is actually designed to keep humans from damaging one of the last few untouched habitats that we have in this world. You know, Because we as humans actively fuck up every other place on this globe? And there's also 3 purposes to the Antarctic Treaty. 1 is to keep countries from colonizing Antarctica. 2 is to keep military away from Antarctica. And 3 is to ensure that there's a coordinated effort between countries on Antarctica, even if outside of Antarctica those countries are at war or don't share the same political views. Now, your home country may make it difficult and expensive for you to go visit Antarctica, but nowhere in the Antarctic Treaty does it say that people are not allowed to go to Antarctica, even if they're a bunch of flat earth idiots.
You can go there on a package tour, and you'll go to the kind of outer islands, you know, see some penguins, go and see a barbershop pole that's supposed to be the South Pole, which they'll tell you isn't the actual South Pole, and that's it.
First off, there is no red and white striped barbershop pole located at the geographic South Pole. The pole there is a commemorative marker that honors the first 2 explorers to reach that point in 1911 and 1912. Interesting fact about that marker is that it resides on an actively moving ice sheet, so once a year someone has to go out, retrieve the marker, and reposition it over the geographic South Pole. Now, the photo op South Pole is located a short walking distance away and is typically the pole that you'll see people posing with in photos. Interesting fact about that pole is that it too resides on an actively moving ice sheet, and it too must be repositioned each year so that it stays relatively close to the geographic South Pole.
If you want to go any further, or you want to go unaccompanied, you'll get turned back by the military.
Well, if you don't follow the proper procedures to visit the protected environment of Antarctica, then there's a good possibility that a military or police force will meet you to try to stop you. Number 1, they don't want people out there fucking up the environment and possibly adversely affecting science experiments. Number 2, it's Antarctica. It's really fucking dangerous, and you can die easily. And number 3, humans are a compassionate species, and we typically do everything we can to save somebody who's in immediate danger. But nobody wants to put their life on the line voluntarily just to go rescue some flat earth idiot who got lost in the middle of Antarctica looking for an imaginary dome.
Well, I used to be a computer programmer, and I was so into science that I would listen to science lectures.
Wow. Dave listened to science lectures. Well, I just watched a Korean TV show on Netflix, but without the subtitles, I wouldn't have understood anything that was being said. You see, you can't just listen to science lectures and expect to know exactly what they're talking about, any more than I can watch a foreign film and know exactly what's going on without the subtitles. Allegedly, Dave, you're an idiot.
While I was working. So I did a lot of research on Einstein's theory of relativity. I was listening to Richard Feynman lectures. I was into science. You know, I was just a normal bloke, just doing what everyone else does. But then you start seeing things that are wrong.
Nothing really gets to me as much as when these Dunning-Kruger dipsticks name-drop scientists like Albert Einstein and Richard Feynman, who both knew that the Earth was a globe, by the way. Especially when they mention Albert Einstein and his theory of general relativity, which happens to be one of the most difficult theories in all of science to understand. But this idiot is prepared to tell everyone who makes a living teaching, studying, and putting general relativity into practical use just how wrong Einstein and his theory really was. You know, because he listened to science lectures. Dave, you're an idiot.
And rather than just ignoring them, thinking, I must be stupid, I thought I'd actually look into them and see what I can find out about them.
I'd first like to say that ignorance is not the same thing as stupidity. If you watch a video on general relativity and you just don't get it, it's probably because general relativity involves some very complex and complicated mathematics that you probably weren't exposed to in school. So your ignorance is not why you're stupid. You're stupid because you're ignorant, you know you're ignorant, and yet you still walk around and tell everyone else who's informed that they are wrong. Allegedly, Dave, you are an ignorant idiot.
And once you do that, that's the turning point. Once you actually look, stop and look, put aside your preconceptions, then you find stuff. There's the indoctrination right there. All these little kids looking at that, being told by their teacher they live here. This is the indoctrination.
I would make a joke about it being okay for you to be around little children, but I'm sure those kids are safe. I'm sure the teachers have already told them to stay away from the crazy idiot whose breath smells like a dirty diaper.
Even when NASA puts their stuff out that looks like this, they forget that the clouds are supposed to move.
Oh my God, you're such a simpleton. How fast do you think clouds travel through the sky anyways? Let's say that we could take Himawari 8 and look at one half of the Earth for 12 consecutive hours. Now, if we have a cloud that starts on one side of the Earth and it moves all the way to the other side of the Earth in that 12 hours, then that cloud would have to be traveling on average about 1,000 miles per hour for the entire duration. Now, have you ever seen a cloud traveling through the sky at 1,000 miles per hour? Yeah, me neither. Dave, you're an idiot.
In fact, you find in the clouds they show in their pictures, they use a clone tool to use the same picture of cloud and stamp it around the globe. There's even the word sex written into the clouds somewhere, which is a known psychological trick to get you to engage with something.
Yeah, sex. And you'd know that if you weren't a flat earth idiot who walks around all day with breath that smells like ammonia. Besides, even if someone at NASA was responsible for writing sex in the clouds, that's still not evidence to support the flat earth. It's only proof that at least one person at NASA has an amazing sense of humor.
Every time I fly, I always take the time to speak to the pilots. And half the pilots I've spoken to have seen the curvature. Half the pilots haven't seen the curvature. According to mainstream science, nobody can see the curvature from a passenger jet.
I'm sure the pilots are just so happy that a grown-ass man is coming up there and asking them a dumbass question, like whether or not they can see the curvature while they're flying the plane. Yes, Dave, they can see the exact same thing you can see. Boats going over the horizon, sunrises and sunsets, and the horizon getting further away as you go up in elevation, all of which are exclusive observations due to the curvature of the Earth. So yes, when half the pilots say that they can't see the physical curvature of the Earth, that's expected, given the tremendous size of the Earth. And when the other half say that they can see the curvature of the Earth, it's probably due to the undeniable effects of the curvature of the Earth. Regardless, let the pilots fly the plane and quit being an annoying flat Earth idiot.
The moon landing is absolutely fake.
No, it wasn't, and you're a disingenuous piece of human waste for saying that it was. And what's with flat earthers and all these absolutely statements? When you say something is absolutely something else, what you're saying is that it is a factual truth with no room left for interpretation. Like saying that 3 is absolutely greater than 2. So when you say that the moon missions were absolutely faked, you need to provide some kind of factual evidence to back that assertion before someone like me is going to believe you. Now, as far as my absolutely statement goes, I have plenty of evidence, about 70 videos or so, to back my assertion that all flat earthers and all moon landing deniers are absolutely fucking idiots.
The supposed lunar lander. One good thing is that it's really accurate because there's no blast crater underneath the lander where there's a massive rocket engine. And there's no dust in the pads there, so very accurate indeed.
Come on, Dave. You know this is just a mock-up of the original lunar landing site on the moon, and it's not meant to be taken as an absolute fact, you idiot. And the lack of a blast crater on the moon is completely due to the lunar lander missing its original landing site and landing on a part of the moon that had a much harder surface. Therefore, no blast crater. And the lack of dust on the lunar lander landing pads is actually a good indicator that that occurred in space and not in Earth's atmosphere.
But to think that this contraption made it to 238,000 miles away and landed on the moon is just ridiculous.
You do realize that what you're looking at is just the lunar module Eagle. This part only went from the command module Columbia to the lunar surface and then back to Columbia. And let's not forget the Saturn V rocket that helped the command module escape Earth's gravity. So it wasn't just the lunar module that got us from Earth to the moon and then back to Earth, you idiot. So I think this is where we're going to end the video today. It's quite obvious that allegedly Dave is absolutely an idiot. Now I'd like to take the time out to thank allegedly Dave, supposedly, for taking the time out of his day to brighten all of our lives with his golden smile. Because allegedly Dave, you are more than allegedly an idiot. Alright guys, so you made it to the end of the video, and as always, I appreciate it. If you found this video entertaining, despite the urine mixologist, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. A massive shout out to all of my channel members and patrons whose support helps me keep doing what I love to do. And a special shout out to What Jesus, who was my very first patron and is still a patron to this day. I am humbled, sir. I'm Father Skeptic, and I'm out.